Welcome to the Relationships Inside Out podcast with Doctors Gregory Siebert and Kimberly Murray, licensed marriage and family therapists. Join them on this journey as they explore the ins and outs of relationships.
Well, welcome to Relationships Inside Out, where today we're going to talk about privacy and secrecy in relationships.
It's core, right? At the core of privacy and secrecy is trust. Before we jump into them, let's define them. How would you define the difference between privacy and secrecy?
So privacy is more, you have boundaries around. It's something that you want to put boundaries around because you don't want people to know that information, generally because maybe it's not necessary. It's not necessarily a secret. It's just they don't need to know. I think about maybe your
financials.
Yeah, or like you don't want to share your sex life.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have, a friend group that you go hang out with and they have inappropriate humor. Maybe you just want to keep that private from, your other friends or your partner. Like that's just not necessarily a secret. It's just they don't need to know that. Secret, on the other hand, is something that potentially could cause harm. It's something that we're keeping secret because it would potentially cause harm or can, whether for ourselves or someone else. But it doesn't necessarily have to be unhealthy. I mean, there's secrets of, I have this embarrassing thing I did, or whatever.
Feels like an intentional moment.
Yeah.
Privacy is like a greater, maybe it's just me, but privacy is more of like a general value, whereas secrecy or having a secret is more of like a moment or a thing.
Yeah. And typically yeah, exactly. I think it's a great way to put it, because secrecy could be something that's more embarrassing, more hurtful, more harmful, more of like an act, or we did something that was a mistake. Because what's the function of keeping a secret in the first place? And that's an important question to ask oneself, is why is this secret important to hold? Because it could have a negative impact in the relationship, either with just holding it and not sharing it, in cases where, for example, if I shared this secret with my partner, it would let them know and give them the information that they need to make a decision whether they want to continue to be in this relationship, or if this family member even still wants to associate with me. Maybe some secrets don't need to be shared, right? Again, like being embarrassed from something in childhood. Or
secrecy and privacy are on continuums too, right? Am I totally unboundaried, unbridled, where I have no secrecy and privacy? Or am I the other direction where everything is kept to myself? Either one of those can be unhealthy, right? The extremes, just like in anything, can be unhealthy. The same is true in partnerships. Just because I'm with someone does not mean that they need to know everything I'm thinking, feeling, doing. I get to have some of that kept to myself. That is healthy in a relationship. Communicates trust. It also communicates individuation, or the sense that I am still an individual, even in the presence of this relationship.
And unfortunately in our work, we see we're in couples where partners want to know everything. They track their partner. They want to see their text. And the thing is not wanting your partner to have secrecy. Everyone has a right to secrets. Everyone has a right to privacy.
Absolutely.
But when you're controlling to that extent, that's really about you. And that really has to be a reflection for yourself of, why do I need to know this information? Why is it so important that I need to control my partner? Because quite frankly, that meets criteria for emotional abuse. And
why can't I tolerate them having something to themselves?
Yeah. And just because there's a secret doesn't mean has to do with you.
Truth.
It doesn't have to do with your relationship.
Or that it's bad. Right?
And here's the other thing, is privacy boundaries. An example would be that maybe I just don't want to share my phone with my wife. Like I'm not hiding anything, but this is just my private space.
This is how I remain me and just me, separate from us.
And just because there's a boundary there doesn't mean there's secrets.
But we see this time and time again. I talk about mom groups a lot, like Facebook groups.
Yeah.
Mom groups. Well, my husband was keeping a secret. And then we see this over and over again. So now all of a sudden I'm like, well, shit, is my husband keeping a secret? Is there a reason he won't let me in his phone? Oh, I knew he was cheating on me. And we are off to the races. Even if it has nothing to do with that, right? It's this emotional contagion of, well, that happened to my friend Betty Sue, so it must be happening in my relationship, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that. But we have this cultural rhetoric that has really started to build steam of, if your partner won't let you in their phone, if they have anything that's kept to them, it's because they're hiding something and you need to investigate.
And this is what is really tricky, because if you go and search and want to make sure that they're not holding secrets and you're constantly checking, they're inevitably going to hold secrets because they don't
Even
want to
more.
share anything because of how overwhelming that is for them.
They're afraid of your reaction. They're afraid of you flipping out.
Yep.
So I'm going to hold everything. I might even intentionally do something or self-sabotage just because I feel so controlled or so monitored by someone.
And you'll hear your partner say, I'm just done saying anything. I'm not going to share anything because I
Mhm.
can't ever win. And it's because there's a reaction to everything. And that tells me for that partner where there's the reaction, there's a lot of anxiety happening. There's a lot of trust issues. And that's your own stuff, especially if there hasn't been in this relationship to show that. Now, I'm not talking about making meaning and trying to find all the reasons why that you can't trust them. That you developed in your mind. I'm talking like they literally did not act.
Like evidence. We talk about evidence in therapy. What's the evidence to support that belief?
Yes, exactly.
Is the evidence with this partner? Is the evidence from your dad growing up or an ex-partner or something else? Right? Or is it really about this partner? If it is about this partner, say they did cheat on you. Have you guys done therapy? Have you gotten the support you need to actually heal? Because if I'm still feeling like I need to check, I need to know everything, your healing's not done. It is not done. We haven't made a sufficient repair and created new healthy boundaries that you both feel safe with just yet, as communicated through constant insecurity, constant anxiety, constant checking.
And I always talk to clients like confirmation happens through self-fulfilling prophecy. Meaning, in this case, if they're going to continually check their partner, that they're going to cheat and leave them, they're going to just for the mere fact that you continually won't let them have some sense of autonomy in their life.
They feel controlled. They act out.
So they're going to leave, and it's going to confirm your bias that people are always going to leave you. And you really have to think about that is what behaviors am I engaging in that are not allowing my partner to feel safe enough to, have secrets or have their own boundaries and drive them away. Am I driving them away? Because that's really unfair to somebody who, as a human being, is allowed to have secrets and privacy, but then they're not allowed to from their partner because of their own past baggage, which we had an episode on.
And that just speaks again to this dynamic of codependency, another thing we've discussed. Because if my partner has to be my everything, so they have to be my lover, my friend, they have to do everything with me. They can't ever have their own time with their own friends alone.
They shouldn't. I'm just kidding.
They can't keep any emotions, any thoughts, any parts of their phone or life to themselves. That's codependency. That is unhealthy. It is toxic. We know that. Unequivocally, we know that. If you feel like your partner can't ever be away from you, can't have conversations without you hearing, can't have autonomy on their phone, their computer without you knowing everything, we got to do some work.
Yeah.
We've got to look at what is driving that. What has led to that insecurity or anxiety within you? How are you going to fix that? How are we going to fix the relationship? Because we need that. We need space to be our own selves. I need to go out with my girls. I need to shoot the shit with different friends without my husband there. Not because I don't like my husband, but because we know spending all of our time with one person isn't great. It's good to have our individual selves while also in partnership. It allows time for fondness to grow. It allows time to miss my partner.
And you're allowed to have privacy in those separate identities or hobbies or what have you. And this speaks to the idea that if this is happening, like these dynamics we're talking about now, secrecy and that can be a product of unhealthy relationship. It's a symptom of an unhealthy relationship. Because, for example, why would I need to keep a secret if I had a healthy dialogue and interaction with my partner where we could be vulnerable? But a lot of times secrets happen because we don't feel safe enough to be vulnerable with that information. And granted, there's going to be some stuff you just may never feel safe with. But in general, if you continually have to find yourself holding secrets because your partner's always checking and like you might have to hide some stuff because you're human and you might have some thoughts that are probably normal for humans, but for your partner, it's not okay. That's going to happen. But that's a product of and a symptom of that unhealthy dynamic.
An example of what you were just speaking of normal thoughts, but that might not be okay, is attraction or lust. This belief that my partner will only ever have eyes for me, I'm just going to say it's bullshit.
Damn Disney.
It is bullshit.
It's not what Disney taught me. So
we are attracted to other people. We do think other people look attractive, have attractive personalities, and that's okay. What makes it not okay is, am I doing something about it? Am I violating our boundaries with that as a couple? But the actual act of being attracted to someone isn't bad. Can I talk about that with my partner?
Mm-hmm.
My husband and I have incredibly open dialogues about that, which is not great for every
Yeah.
relationship. But for us, that's actually really helpful.
And you talked about a spectrum earlier. And in this case, I want to go to the other extreme, which is you don't want to share every thought. That person's hot. That person's hot. Oh my God, look at them. Look at like just, hey, I found
Look at her ass.
attract. Yeah. I mean, there's the other.
Right.
Yeah. Don't kind of diarrhea of the mouth of this stuff either, because I've seen
Truth.
that cause a lot of stress for partners.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
one is they care about those, but then they realize, oh my God, those thoughts are like really rampant. What's going on? It's like, hold on, those thoughts are normal. Maybe they can have a little more self-control on those lustful thoughts, but moderation and everything. And
Yeah.
those thoughts are okay. Secrets are okay. Privacy is okay. I do want to kind of go to the or talk a little bit about when you're holding a secret, reflecting and getting clarification on what that
Yeah.
secret is, because when you think about a secret, there has to be a reason we're not wanting to share.
Mhm.
Is it because the relationship's unhealthy? That's one. Is it because it's embarrassing to us or it could cause harm? And when you think about some of the research talks about the harmful thing about secrets is our rumination of it.
Rumination. Let's define that. Rumination is the obsessive thinking about something
Yeah.
over and over again for an extended period of time. For those who don't know, it is if I have this thought that is now invading my work time, it is with me every day. That is rumination.
Yeah, and the more that maybe that secret, or like say you have a secret about engaging in something or a thought, the more that it kind of is different from your morality, the more dissonance or distress you're going to experience. So think about that. Like why is the secret such a big deal? And I need clarity so I can, because if you get clarity on why you're holding it and why it's so important or why it causes stress, that can help interrupt the dissonance. You can also engage in distress tolerance, or like going to therapy for that, or looking at skills of how to regulate and ground yourself, physiologically through like breathing and mindfulness and being present, or engaging in senses, or cognitively by challenging your thoughts.
And thinking about the relationship, what have we agreed upon in our relationship? Hopefully, we're discussing privacy and secrecy early in our relationship and throughout. If I held this in, would it be okay to my partner? If I held it in, would it actually be destructive? If I continue to engage in this behavior that I'm choosing to keep secret, is it destructive to my partner? That's our cues of, okay, maybe the secret's not so great.
This is where it gets tough. This is where it gets tough, though, Kim, because say it's like, yeah, if I kept a secret, my partner would not be okay. Well, then that be okay because they have all that trauma and insecurity that we talked about, and it's maybe not realistic that they're not okay.
Ooh, see if
This
like if it's a highly triggered partner, I could see that, right?
That's where,
For example, porn.
Yeah.
Porn's a great one. In some partnerships, porn's okay. Other partnerships, hard no.
Oh, you can't even look at like lingerie in some relationships, or
yeah, it's real life.
Or on TV. Did you just look at them?
Did you look at them? Did you see that Victoria's Secret ad? You had your eyes open?
Yep.
How do we... Okay, let's go to the porn one. How do we navigate that? If my partner says like, in this relationship, I trust you won't look at porn. That's a hard boundary for me. And then I still choose to look at porn. To me, that's toxic secrecy. That's not great, right? Because now we've violated that boundary. I could see others arguing the opposite of, but I'm allowed that choice. It's a tough one to navigate. This gray area that isn't as extreme as infidelity, but also isn't as small as I slipped and didn't want anyone to see me. It's such a gray area.
And what you and I look for as systemic therapists is, well, how do you talk about that? You may have looked at porn. Okay. How do you process that and navigate that with your partner? And if the relationship is not healthy, then maybe it becomes a prolonged secret. If you're able to say, hey.
But then is that corrosive to the relationship, which eventually it can be.
It can be.
Right? If I've been looking at porn for 10 years and all of a sudden my partner catches me, ooh, we got real big problems now.
Yeah. See, we don't have answers. We're just getting you to think about this.
There's no, and this is why we bring this topic up, because this isn't a black and white topic, right? Some topics we talk about are pretty black and white of like healthy, not healthy.
Yeah.
This one's more gray.
There's a lot of subjectiveness in, and what we're kind of getting at with porn is of what people think are okay or not okay. Ideally, you're talking about that in the beginning of relationships. Most of the time, it's not true. That's why Kim and I have jobs.
And we'll forever have jobs.
But it's really important to think about like, what is okay for like a secret for you versus me? I mean, this should be like a couple months in. I mean, some couples are getting engaged a couple months in, but or married or whatever. And
it's a whole nother
some of them have worked, right? But nonetheless, these conversations need to happen, Because if there's a disparity between what you find okay with boundaries or not, like say, for example, somebody is a very private person, you know, they have a lot more boundaries. The other partner may not be okay with the privacy that they need, which then inevitably probably lead to secrecy because they're continually checking and they're like,
Or resentment, like it, catch that right in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. So if there's a disparity in there, that unless you can talk about it, come to some middle ground. I mean, that's one of the red flags that I would consider.
You're in a relationship potentially.
Yeah.
Right. If my partner, okay, I'm a strong-willed human. I know this is shocking to anyone who knows me. If my husband all of a sudden said, I want to put a tracker on your phone. I'm going to check your phone every day. I would go nuclear. Like I would absolutely rail against that. That would not align with me. Not because I'm hiding anything. I'm also like a low-key hermit. Like I just live a very low risk life, but because it would feel like a violation of the trust that he has for me. It communicates to me, oh, you're not trusting me. But it also violates, I want to be an individual who isn't being monitored. That feels childlike to me. That feels invasive to me. Again, not because there's some secret I'm hiding, but because those are important core values, that you trust me, that you treat me like an equal, that you hold me as an adult. Those pieces are important to me. So looking at that too, right? And how do you navigate that?
And trust is big. It's an absolute necessity in relationships, like duh.
Core foundation.
And continually checking or wanting to know each other's secrets and privacy, that's literally like the opposite of trust. Trust is being okay and tolerating the unknown. But if you're continually checking because you're not okay with the unknown, different problem, and you're literally saying, I don't trust you. And a good question to ask yourself is, have they ever given me reason to, or is this past stuff?
Has that person, not so-and-so from your ex relationship, has this partner, this person given me evidence? Super defining and important thing to look at.
And unfortunately, it's very normal. I think about the same process happens. Like somebody, say, for example, gets in a car accident. Now they're scared of cars. Somebody has trauma in a relationship. Now they're scared of that happening again. We need to work through that trauma to be able to feel comfortable and kind of desensitized to that, because it's not the same person. And ideally, and hopefully it's not the same relationship dynamics because you've grown from the past one or learned something new of what to look for, things like that. But literally that's saying, I don't trust you.
It is. You got to deal with your baggage. We had an episode on this. Deal with your baggage. Go and get support, explore however feels good for you. What contributions you gave in your last relationship, what negative messages you're pulling away so that you don't bring it into this next one, right? In a healthy relationship, we have positive regard or positive belief about our partner. So if my husband's hanging with the boys, I'm not checking in on him. I'm not listening through the door at what they're talking about. I am trusting that he is speaking well on me. I am trusting that he is honoring our boundaries as a partnership. And I hold a positive regard for him that he can do that. Now, if he gives me evidence to the opposite, then we've got to talk about that. And we've got to work through that. Right.
Yeah. And the decision has to be made of whether that's something you want to continue.
And how do we move forward from that? But if he hasn't given me reason to not doubt, the healthiest way to approach ideally is, I believe that my partner's got our best intentions in mind and I trust him in that.
And I guess what we're really saying here is check yourself. And are you really needing no secrets because of your own insecurities? Did they give you doubt, or is this doubt from your past? Now, in terms of the secrets itself, and if you have a secret, secrets are okay. Privacy is okay. But think about what we talked about earlier. Not easy, but should I keep this? Why am I keeping
the level
this?
of the secret? Yeah.
And if you decide to keep that secret, working on the tolerating that distress that may cause you and figuring out how to not ruminate about it. And because some things happen, like maybe you forget about it, but then you go back to a location that makes you think of it. Here comes that distress again. You got to be okay with holding it if that's what you're deciding to do. And really thinking about your own belief system and value system around this. That's why there's not really an answer, because there's so much subjectiveness in our own values and beliefs of what's okay to share and not share. And what we're saying is that there is degrees where it's unhealthy of like sharing everything. And then there's a degree of unhealthy of like sharing nothing.
Or violating those boundaries within your partnership and not telling your partner, right? Doing the things that are destructive. We're not saying you get to keep all secrets here, folks. I want to be really clear about that. If you're having infidelity, if you're doing something that you know is destructive or counter to your relationship, really think about if that is a secret worth holding.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
As we're talking about this, I'm like, what are all the secrets I have?
Right? You start to ruminate. You start to think about it. You start to think about for your partner.
Yeah.
And how can, if you are in one of those patterns of, I've got another location, I've got to know everything that's on their phone. I wait until they fall asleep so I can get into their phone and I use their Face ID while their eyes are closed. Real talk, that's a real situation that's happened.
Oh my God.
If you're feeling like you're in that vigilance, it is so destructive to not only a relationship, but your own physical and mental health.
That's a burden on you. That's burnout.
That is burnout. That's exhausting. That is time to get some support. You don't have to live that way.
Yeah. And some things kind of recapping is at yourself. Think about what that secret is. Why is it important to hold or not hold? Would it cause hurt for my partner? Do they deserve to know? Because it would help them make a decision. Is it because I can't share this because I don't feel safe in my relationship? Do I need to know a secret because of past trust issues? Important things to consider from what we were.
And then how do you get support to process through that if you don't have the tools or aren't equipped to do so? There is support all around you, whether it is a friend who demonstrates a healthy relationship or dynamic, or reaching out to a therapist, someone. Don't be shy to get that support. You don't have to live in this state of paranoia, panic, vigilance all the time. You don't. Or control on the flip side.
Yeah. And we've all had secrets from our parents growing up. And some of us have a lot of fun of sharing them secrets now as adults.
Love it. I love watching my dad's face. I just love it. Having him like these beliefs of how is this angel child shatter in front of him.
Yeah.
Something about it is really fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when I was a kid, I'm not going to tell them that I'm egging people's houses.
Did you egg people's houses?
I don't know. That's a secret.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell them that, I took a candy bar or something. Right.
Oh, and you're a thief too?
Yes.
I'm reporting you. Yeah.
But then as an adult, they're like, you and your brother did what? Or like, oh yeah, we rode our bikes. So you guys went into the city by yourselves. Like
I went street racing with an ex-boyfriend,
wow.
Which as a total square, that would be shocking to a lot of people, but I did. I snuck out of my house and
set your limitations for us. Are we going to?
I mean, can I say? But I love watching that shock and awe, right? Those secrets growing up, I expect my own kids to keep secrets from me. I expect them to talk about me.
Wait, you're not gonna be the mom that pries? We've been talking about this in the context of romantic relationship. This also relies on
with parenting. And parents often track their kids now. Life 360 is a big one.
Oh, I bet.
They read their journals. They have apps where all the text messages your kids are sending pop up on your phone, so you can see everything.
Yep, they have watches that you can like literally talk into. I better send it back because I guess what I'm hearing now is that's not good.
That's not good.
I'm just kidding.
To communicate privacy to your teen is just as important as communicating privacy to your partner. You have to communicate trust. Did it impact my dad at the time that I went street racing? No, it was fine, right? That's secret. Theoretically, it could. Okay, yeah. That's a poor one.
Well, the thing is, it didn't, and therefore it's like, well, I'm not going to share anything because nothing happened, right?
But like for my kids, I want them to talk about me and my husband. I want them to vent to each other about how we're the worst parents ever because I want them to process at some point, to have support.
Yeah.
I want them to do those stupid things because one day I get to have that shocked face of like, when did this happen?
That we enjoy on our parents' face when we share.
It's important that we have those moments that are just ours to enjoy, so long as they're not destructive to the other. Right.
Yeah. And also destructive to yourself.
True.
You may not be able to hold on to one because it's so destructive. And I think about, unfortunately, for a long time, people had to keep their own sexuality secret. And that is very harmful, we've found, right? So think about what that secrecy is for you, why you're keeping it.
Or who you to share it with, who's safe.
And it could be a journal, maybe to get it out of you, like externalize it. Maybe it doesn't have to be a human. Could be your dog.
Could be your dog.
Or cat. Well, cats, I don't trust cats, but.
I would claw you in the face. I can speak from experience.
And then the other thing too about secrets is when parents ask or someone asks you to hold it for them. Right? That's not something that you engaged in, but that's something that somebody else shared with you. That's a whole different ball of wax that they put you in that situation. That's unfair. They put you in that situation. Especially
if you're friends with their partner or the whole dynamic, it's rough.
Yeah. And quite frankly, they should have never put you in that position. So if there were, for me, my own personal belief is if I feel like that person needs to know, then I'll share it, even though I might lose that friendship with the other one, because that's not a good place to put that someone unless you agreed upon it. And a lot of times people are like, oh, let me tell you something. And before you can say anything, like, blah, blah, blah. You're like, I did not
Yes,
want to know.
ask before you share, right? I've
Yeah.
talked about this before. You'd ask someone to lift a heavy box for you. Ask before you drop a bomb. I have a big secret. Can I share it with you? If they say no, respect the no, right? But also give them a chance to say yes or no. Well, this has been Relationships Inside Out, where today we talked about privacy and secrecy in relationships, to include even parenting. As always, if anyone has any questions or topic suggestions, please feel free to email us at relationshipsinsideout@gmail.com. Thanks.
And don't keep this episode a secret. Thanks.